Over 1 million teachers use iExcel in their classrooms every day for one reason. They love it. Why? iExcel is where the magic happens. With just one platform, teachers can personalize learning for every student. iExcel gives teachers all the tools they need to enhance and differentiate instruction without adding work to their plates. Plus, iExcel has decades of expertise and has proven to be effective. Studies on more than 70,000 schools across nearly 50 states show that those who use iExcel outperform others on state tests. Ready to bring the magic to your school? Visit iexcel.com/PM to learn more.
You're listening to Monday Matters, a Principal Matters podcast production.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another Monday Matters episode with Jen Schwanke, and I'm Will Parker. Jen, my wife, Missy, loves to call this Maycember because it's the time of the year next to Christmas where you're just busier than you could ever imagine with everything. Proms, school activities, banquets, graduation coming around the corner, testing, all these things. As you're connecting with your friends, before we, by the way, I'll tell people what's going to happen in today's show, but I'm just curious, how's May been for you, and what kinds of conversations are you having with your leaders?
Right. I always remember Missy's moment about Maycember. It reminds me of the time I had such a busy day. I walked in after work into the house and burst into tears. And my husband said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I can't work any harder." I know that many leaders are at saturation point. And so if you find yourself thinking that, actually the antidote to that is to step back a minute, maybe take an hour, go into work an hour later, get yourself a cup of coffee. The best way to be more effective is to not try to cram so much into every day. So maybe step back and just breathe, because you can't work any harder. That is actually true.
Do you remember, Jen, when you shared with me, I think it was this time last year, an audio of you standing in an elementary school playground, and you're just like, Will, I captured all of the laughter and the scuffles and the sounds and the swinging and just the voices. And you're like, because I wanted to hold on to the remembering, just this is why we do school.
Right.
It's for these guys. So I just want to say that to listeners. And in setting up today's conversation, normally Monday Matters is you and I unpacking some things we're currently learning. And I have been currently learning through some masterminds that I've been leading across the state of Ohio. I do a mastermind with leaders in Kentucky, in California. And so, Jen, this week I'm bringing what I call Jedi lessons from a leadership mastermind, because this is a group I have been with the longest. I think some of them have been 4 or 5 years ago. We started around after COVID. And so I wanted to bring their conversation to listeners today, just so you can hear from other leaders the way that their collective collaboration is encouraging them to stay focused, stay encouraged, and not feel isolated. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation today with our Jedi lessons from a leadership mastermind. And Jen, before we transition, how can folks stay connected with you and your wonderful newsletter?
Yep, they can find me at jenschwanke.com, and there is a place there to subscribe to a weekly newsletter. It's called Principal Problems with Dr. Jen.
And you're not going to want to miss that. And then you can check out today's resources at our website and all today's show notes at williamdparker.com. Hi, friends. This is Will Parker, host of Principal Matters, the School Leaders Podcast, where each week we bring you inspiring, innovative, and imaginative ideas for your own school leadership. And this week, I'm having a special conversation with a group that I call my Legacy Mastermind. And they're called my Legacy Mastermind because this group of Ohio leaders has been meeting together for several years. And we decided to record part of our conversation today to bring some feedback to you on how collaboration and masterminding can help you in your own leadership. So around the room, I have a whole host of leaders that I'm going to ask to just quickly introduce themselves with their name, their title, their school location, and then we're going to circle back and have some discussion together. But this is a big room, so I'm just going to ask each of you to quickly introduce yourself. Giselle James, will you go first?
Yes. My name is Giselle James. I'm the superintendent at Par Excellence STEM Academy, and that's in Newark, Ohio, and we are about 40 minutes east of Columbus, Ohio.
Welcome, Giselle. Jacqueline?
Good morning. I'm Jacqueline Flaker. I'm the director of Rittman Academy. We're a small dropout prevention high school in Rittman, Ohio, which is in Wayne County, and that's like Akron, Canton area.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Guyton?
Hello, my name is Guyton Matthews. I'm the superintendent for the Cincinnati College Preparatory Academy. Charter school started in 1999, and we are still going strong. We are serving a learning community of 1,000 students, grades K through 12.
Thank you, Guyton. Genesis?
Good morning. My name is Genesis Henderson. I serve as the Deputy Superintendent of Cincinnati College Preparatory Academy.
Welcome, Genesis. Laura?
Hi, my name is Laura Kulik. I am the Assistant Superintendent at Utica Shale Academy. It is in Salineville, Ohio, which is in the northeast part of the state. And we are a dropout recovery school, and we do career tech.
Welcome, Laura.
Hello, I'm Ann Highland, superintendent at Franklinton High School, which is downtown Columbus, Ohio.
Welcome, Ann. Maria Rogers?
Hi, I'm Maria Rogers, Principal and Superintendent Designee of Greater Summit County Early Learning Center, also known as Scope Academy. We are a K through 4 STEM school. We are located in Northeast Ohio in the area of Greene, Springfield, and Akron.
Welcome, Maria. Bill Watson?
Hi, I'm Bill Watt, Superintendent at Utica Shale Academy, located Northeast Ohio.
Welcome, Bill. Heather Winger, welcome.
Good morning. I am Heather Winger. I'm the principal at A Plus Children's Academy. We're a K-6 charter school in Columbus.
Welcome, Heather. And we do have one member who's not going to be with us today, Natalia Okunzi, who leads a Global Village School in, well, I'm forgetting the name of her city, but if somebody else remembers, you can jump in. But I think it's in Parma, right? Yeah. So Natalia, if you're listening in, we miss you, but we're so glad you are also part of this mastermind community. Before we hit the record button, just for listeners to know, we always begin with celebrations. And so we went around the room, and it was so wonderful to hear from each of you, everything from the accountability and testing things you guys are completing as you step into spring to testing pep assemblies or visiting baseball games with your kids. And so this is that time of the year where people are wrapping up, testing, finishing school. I like to describe this time of the year as you have one leg firmly planted in finishing this year and one leg firmly planting and getting ready for next year. And so I know that anyone listening to this is walking through that same experience themselves. But the focus of today's conversation is, what difference does it make to do what we've been doing together this year? And so I want to begin with this first question, and I'm just going to open this up because I know there's lots of us in the room, but I love to hear your thoughts. How has receiving coaching or mentoring through conversations like this strengthened your ability to develop others? And what are some areas where you have felt stretched through these conversations?
I was just thinking, we had this conversation. I did some one-on-one coaching recently with Will, and told him that I finally feel like I'm ready to start coaching some of our staff members. So Will and I walked through what that might look like. And that feels like full circle for me, because when I became the director, most of you probably know, I was not planning to be the director of Rittman Academy. And so I did not feel equipped. I felt like an imposter. And thank goodness that Sheila Vitale values coaching and mentorship for her leaders, and that she was willing to invest in this. And so 4 years later, I finally don't feel like an imposter anymore. I finally feel like, wow, I can actually do this, and maybe I'm pretty good at it. And I'm excited to take the things that I've learned. I've actually been in this group for 5 years, and now I finally feel ready to do some of this stuff with our staff. So thanks, Will.
Oh, Jacqueline, we're celebrating with you. Giselle, you had some thoughts too.
Yes. Yes. I just want to say I have learned so much about not just myself, but about other people, to identify myself as the type of leader that I am. And when we did the 5 voices, it really was kind of a transformational experience, because I saw not only who I thought I was, but I really saw who I actually am. And then I got to know some of my staff, who they are, that the place that they come from, because of the voice that they kind of identified with, was truly not what I thought. So there were nurturers and you had your creatives, and it was just very much an eye-opening experience and helped me kind of bridge some gaps and also realize that the way that I lead um, could look different to different people. So that makes a difference also, but setting goals, the way we set goals every week means a lot. So, and I'm able to actually work with my staff the way you have worked with this leadership group and help cultivate some really good leaders in this company. Because of just the things we've learned. And I learned so much from everybody else that is priceless too, to hear other people, their experiences, and know that you're truly not alone. And my favorite thing is the smartest person in the room is the room. So thank you.
Giselle, you've said so many things that I want to respond to. I'll just say one, which is when you think back to the content that we've learned together, I love it that it's stretched you in ways that keep you growing too. And I also appreciate how you keep involving more and more people in your school in conversations by sending them to training or having them step into their own Grow Academies. So thank you for that commitment. Other thoughts from the room? How has receiving this kind of collective coaching and mentorship strengthen your ability to develop others? Genesis?
I'll second Giselle with the, not knowing that it's not just you're not the crazy one, like we're all in this together and experiencing similar things. But I also think, it was these conversations on a biweekly basis are just a good reminder of the importance of listening. Sometimes, specifically maybe with our hot seats, sometimes people just need an ear. They don't always need you to solve their problems or to give them ideas. I mean, in the hot seat, that is the point of the hot seat, to be able to get input from others and feedback. But sometimes as you're talking through your problem, like you start to think about and realize some of your own solutions. And so I think that, it's just the importance. A lot of times as leaders, we always think we have to fix. And sometimes the person that we're talking to or coaching doesn't necessarily need a fix. They just need to be listened to and kind of coached through the process of finding their own solution.
Wow, Genesis. Thanks for saying that. So I like to say it this way. So leaders a lot of times know what they need to do next. They just need the quietness or the clarity to be able to take that next step. And sometimes these conversations give you that chance to finally slow down long enough, like you said, Genesis, for someone to have the ear to listen to you say those things that you haven't been able to express any other place. Other thoughts? How has receiving coaching or mentorship strengthened your abilities to develop others?
Yeah, I'll jump in right after Genesis agree, and in line with her thinking just about learning how to listen first. I think, the mentorship and just the coaching, one of the things that always comes out when someone's on a hot seat is just to listen and be intentional about how we ask our questions. Instead of just giving advice, listen, try and find out more about the problem, and then, try and help someone else, think and just reflect, and then take ownership on trying out how to solve those problems. And I think that's helped me just work with my leaders. I've been fortunate enough to have some leaders with a lot of experience, and just being able to listen and ask the right questions. A lot of times they solve a lot of their own, problems. And it just kind of goes to line with what Genesis was saying.
Thanks, Guyton, for that reminder. And it's a hard discipline to just ask questions first before just jumping in and giving feedback. But man, slowing down and doing that usually helps you get deeper. And so I so appreciate about that, you guys about that too. Bill, you had some thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think I've really grown on is just my ability to trust and understanding that how that magnifies outcomes. I know, Will, you've really helped me trust others and feel like I don't have to have everything in my hand. And because of that, I think I've gotten a little bit better at empowering people and allowing them to make their own decisions. But also, I think that, because of that, I've learned that there's a multiplier to what people can do. And you get a lot more when, you don't stop other people's genius. So I really appreciate, you kind of helping me with that.
Well, thanks for that feedback. And so listeners have context. You may have caught this in the introductions, but Bill and Laura work in the same campus together. Guyton and Genesis serve in those same campuses together. So building that trust is such a huge part of doing this work. And I love it that you guys have brought each other into these conversations too, because that's not easy to like bring those things that you're struggling with on a campus to other people, but you guys have done that consistently. Anne, what are you thinking?
Well, there was conversations we had as a group specifically about systems,
Mhm.
but almost everything that we do in our jobs are part of a system, and that's helped me to look at I don't know, processes that we use in our school or don't use in our school that I hear other people talk about. And then that makes me think about what in our system isn't working or what's working great. And we should do more of that and less of this other. So looking at a thing in a broader, like 30,000-foot perspective of what we're doing and what we hope to do. And there was another quote that said, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? Are we doing that? And that's the question. Are we getting it done with what we want to be doing? So,
Wow. And you're always so practical. And I appreciate that because whether it's re-examining our own systems or then asking that harder question, and show me your calendar and then show me your actions. And are your actions actually translated through your translating what you said your intentions are? Which you kind of set up the second question I wanted to talk about. So thank you for that. Which is I'm just really curious in what ways has engaging with a community of leaders like this challenged or supported or held you accountable in your own work? How has engaging with other leaders like this challenged you or supported you or held you accountable in your own work? Maria?
I was going to say, I think it allows us to be able to push the envelope, push our thinking beyond our own thoughts with the ideas that they share, especially when it comes to collaboration, especially when it comes to trust, right? We are all trusting each other on the advice that we take from one another, and then we take that and collaborate with the people within our buildings as well as build up the trust within our buildings to lead us to empower our staff so that way they can continue in the leadership role. So it's more of a community of leaders. I really like that about us in our meetings. It's really about collaborating leadership and how can we empower the people that we work with on a day-to-day basis to become leaders in their own right.
Thanks for that. Heather, what about you? What are some ways that these conversations challenge or support you?
It's great to hear just each week everybody else's ideas. I know how I'm thinking about things, and sometimes just getting another person's thought on something really just opens it up. It's great to hear, like everyone has said, that we have the same struggles, and everybody has different ways of dealing with that, but we all work through it, and I know we can bounce ideas off of each other. It's been great these past few years having that.
Thank you for that. Bill and Laura, you guys have translated this over to your own team. So you guys have kind of taken this model. And Laura, I don't know if you want to open your mic and explain what does that look like for your own admin team to kind of do this same kind of model together?
For us, we're in a little bit of a different scenario, I think, than a lot of admin teams because we have some people on our admin team that aren't those that have originated in the world of education. So, we have somebody that has a psychology background. We have someone that is in the process of getting a business degree. Bill came from industry, but then, did dabble in education some. And then, I've been in education and special education specifically as well for 18 years. Oh, I hate to even say that.
A long time.
So I think that for us, that it has been a confidence builder as a team because we're very diverse in our background. So it has really helped us to take the pieces and parts from everybody's background and really make a successful admin team. And I think that Bill and I being a part of these types of conversations gave us the confidence to go ahead and do that, with the rest of our admin. And then now the rest of our admin meet with you as well. And I think that you help to give them confidence, and the team meetings help to give them confidence in the decisions that they're making.
Thanks for that feedback. I have one last question I wanted to ask you guys as a group, and I'm just really curious because I know this may go lots of different ways, but leadership is really all about influence and support and service. And so when you guys meet together, you've built a trust among one another for that kind of encouragement and feedback. I'm curious, what does it look like for you when it's boots on the ground back in your own communities? And Laura, you just gave an example of this, of lifting up your other teachers and leaders and staff. What does it look like? And what ways are you intentionally building those kinds of connections with your own staff so that you can impact growth and do this work sustainably? So I know I'm asking a very open question, but I'm really curious. What are some ways what are some practical ways that someone listening can think, well, this is how it works for you. Maybe I could do that for me. What are some practical ways that you're being able to stay connected with your own staff and influencing their outcomes? Go ahead, Jen.
I think for me, it's more about me than my team. I think it's, as leaders have a hard time, at least I have a hard time of letting go. And, allowing people the opportunity to, maybe fall and bump their head a little bit or get some scrapes and bruises, understanding that, they're going to learn in that process of falling. That's how they learn how to get back up. And so I think that's for me, and that has been a hot seat for me. A couple of my hot seats is, having a certain level of, trust and maybe just being okay, knowing that it may not be perfect. It may be done differently than how I do it. And this is still a work in progress for me. But kind of, pulling away the safety net per se, me being the safety net and letting go, just to allow them the opportunity to be able to grow and to flourish more and not be so dependent.
Well, Genesis, there's just so much wisdom in what you just said. And I so appreciate that, because a lot of times in my podcast, I'll ask veteran leaders, if you could speak to a younger leader, what advice would you give? And I just heard you say, learn to let go. You can't control everything. And you're going to have to let other people learn, sometimes through mistakes. It doesn't mean that you're allowing things to fall apart. You're learning wisely when to step in and when to step back. Other thoughts? What other ways are you finding ways to intentionally build connections or lift up others or influence outcomes with your teams?
Giving other people on your team a chance to also encourage them to grow as leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you don't know the talent that's within a person until you open the door. Because people may look at their leaders as maybe being so focused on leading that they're not opening up to new ideas and kind of putting your ego down and saying that some ideas from people who you're giving an opportunity to lead you, that you encourage them, and then you not only encourage, you and support, not just invite them into the room, but let them have a say and say, yeah, I think that's a good idea and we can go that way. And that helps you because a burden is lighter shared.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that, Giselle. And I'm smiling because I've seen you do that with your leaders and inviting them into their own opportunities for growth and being open to feedback from others with different perspectives. So that's so powerful. Other thoughts from the room? What ways are you intentionally connecting, growing those opportunities with your own staff and people?
I think being intentional with allowing them to be able to provide input on issues or things that need to be improved upon within our school, whether it be a simple protocol of entering the school, or whether it be documenting data, collecting data, or whether it be if we're all seeing these different things come about, what during our special education meetings, what can we do differently versus me giving the overall, this is what we're going to do, X, Y, and Z. There's more buy-in, there's more accountability. Especially when we come back to our meetings and we have to talk about, was there a change? Did this work or did this not?
Good stuff, Maria. Any other thoughts, Gaiden?
Yeah, I think Maria is on point with that, giving people an opportunity to contribute. A lot of times people think, hey, well, I'm not in a position of leadership, so I can't make that call, or I don't have any input. But, a lot of the issues that we come across, I mean, we're all facing them, and everybody has, an opinion. And so I've always tried to practice a shared leadership model and give people an opportunity to voice their opinion and to have some input. And it leads to just what Maria is saying, buy-in. It shows people that, they do have, a stake in the game. They are part of the learning community. You also get a chance to, as a leader, to take a step back and look and see, how effective is that person? How passionate is that person? And is this person someone that I could see, in a leadership role, and then take time and start to invest if they're interested?
Good stuff. I want to, it's hard for me to wrap up this conversation because there's so much more I'd love to just pick the brains from each of you. But if you don't mind, I'd like to just go across the room one more time. And as we're leaving, even as you're speaking, I was just looking at all the faces in this room and thinking, I know I use weird analogies, but I'm just going to use this analogy because I grew up loving Star Wars. And like, how when you see the Jedis use their powers, you're like, oh man, they're amazing. But sometimes when I hang out with educators that are really good, I'm like, they're kind of like Jedis. Like they just know how to do this work. And so because I'm in a room of really talented leaders, if you don't mind, I'd love to just have you speak to anyone who's listening. Just one thing you would want them to keep in mind in their own leadership that's been helpful for you, or that's been helpful from doing work like this as a group. And so, so I'm just going to go around the room and ask each of you to say a parting word of something that you would want to say to another leader who wants to keep growing themselves. So I'm going to start at the top of my screen and just work down. So Giselle, what's a parting word you'd want to say to leaders?
Believe in yourself and continue to grow as a leader. Just because you are a leader doesn't mean you stop growing as a leader.
Good stuff. Jacqueline?
I would say find your people, find your community, and make the time for it. There are some times that I think to myself, I don't know if I have time to get onto this mastermind call today. And then I'm never sad when I usually make myself, because once you build the relationships, you don't want to let people down. And I'm always happy that I invested the time in it, and so it's worth it. So I would say find your people and invest the time.
Thank you, Gaiden.
Yeah, I would say practice shared leadership. Really, dive into it, practice shared leadership. You can't do it alone. And, invest in your people, and you'll get a return on your investment.
Thanks. Genesis?
I would say just remember your why and use that as your guiding light on a daily basis. There's going to be a lot of distractions and a lot of things that, try to take you off course, but remember your why. And, as educators, our why is always going to be the students and then the teachers. And so if it's not what's best for kids, if it's not what's best for staff, then, and for your specific school, and then it's not something that you should do. And then just as we tell our teenagers, just don't compare yourself to other schools or other districts, because your school is your school.
Thank you. Laura?
I think for me that I feel like I've always kind of relied on was some advice that I got early on, and I know I've shared it with this group before, and kind of was given more confidence in using it going forward. The biggest thing I think as a leader is if someone's coming to you, if a teacher is coming to you and something is an issue for them or something is a concern for them, treat it as such. Because if it's enough for them to come to you as an issue, then for them it's an issue. For you, it might be 100th on your list of 100 things. But if it was important to them, then it should be important for you to help them to come to some sort of conclusion about how to help them through that issue.
What a good reminder. Anne, what about you?
I was thinking that this thing that we're doing is an action research project. What is working? What's not working? In this place at this time with these children and these teachers. So it's always changing. It is continuous. We do hope that things can improve, right? That's what we're about. But it is pay attention and what's happening and how's it working, kind of.
Oh, that's powerful. Thank you for saying that. Maria?
Always take time to pause and reflect. You don't always have to give an immediate response. That's something that I'm always working on because sometimes I think as Janice had pointed out, you're always thrown in the midst of this thing and that thing, and we feel that it's always urgent. But if you take time to pause and reflect, I guarantee your answer is going to be more intentional and more worthy for how it should be applied.
Thank you. Bill?
Kind of to touch on your Star Wars theme, leadership isn't the Jedi doing everything with force. It's the Jedi building a room full of people who can carry the mission together. So the moment you value your leadership by control, I think you cap your team's capacity and capabilities. And, the moment you open it up is the moment you create a bunch of great leaders and a good team.
Thanks for bringing it full circle. Heather?
There's no way you can do it all on your own. So never be afraid to ask for help.
Man, you guys, I think I just may have gotten the chapter titles for my next book from every one of your feedback. Principal Matters listeners know that I love to summarize, and I can't help it. I'm just going to say, as we wrap up today's conversation, I want to say thank you to Giselle and Jacqueline and Guyton and Genesis and Laura and Ann and Maria and Bill and Heather for being a part of today's conversation. And a shout out to Natalia, who's in this group, and Sheila Vitale, who put us all together. We're so grateful for the office in Ohio that supports this work, and Yvonne Atkins, who also helps support this work too. So if you guys are listening, thank you. But Principal Matters listeners, as you wrap up your day, keep these thoughts in mind. Believe in yourself, find your people, practice shared leadership, remember your why, and don't compare to others. Treat others as you want to be treated. Practice action research cycles. Just like good learning, you've got to have your own practices of reflection. Always take time to pause and reflect. Leadership is building others to do the mission, and you can't do it alone. Ask for help. Oh my gosh, you guys. Thank you for the opportunity to record this session with you and the Principal Matters listeners. Until next time, thanks for doing what matters. You'll find free resources like this one at williamdparker.com. Subscribe for our free weekly newsletter, which contains bonus material, and also check out the links for Grow Academy's Masterminds, executive coaching, and keynote presentations for my books, as well as for Principal Matters Associates. You can find out more under our speakers tab at williamdparker.com. Thank you for learning together, and thank you for doing what matters.
Monday Matters.